guys. I just thought I would let you know. Today's episode almost basically didn't happen. Let me tell you why. Basically, my power has been out all day long, and so I was kind of procrastinating doing this episode because I didn't want to be here in my house because not only was the power out, but the AC was out as well, so it was hot as balls in here, and I don't know, it just didn't feel like the right time. And then I come back and power's still out, so I had to take a shower in the dark. I lit some candles for at least a little bit of light, but it was still kind of dark. And so I was like, am I low-key gonna have to record in the dark? Because I don't want to do that. But it turned back on as soon as I got out of the shower. Thank the Lord. Anyways, how are you guys? Hope that you are having a great day so far and that you are ready for this episode. I just want to preface before we get into it, I'm going to be talking about some pretty heavy stuff. We're going to be talking about like depression, anxiety, therapy, all that kind of jazz, taking medications. So trigger warning just for everyone out there. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to record this episode just because it is something personal, but I know that so many people struggle with this, and I thought, why not share my story so that other people can feel maybe seen or heard in a sort of way. So yeah, I just wanted to put a trigger warning, and please treat this episode with care and love, and know that you're not alone. I want to try and keep this episode upbeat, because why would I, me personally, I don't think I would want to put on a podcast that is sad and depressing, so I want to try and keep it as upbeat as I possibly can. But it can also be kind of hard with this topic because we're talking about depression and anxiety, and that sometimes isn't a fun topic to talk about, but also I think it needs to be talked about, and also I don't think it's something to be ashamed of. It just kind of, for people to have it, it's just a part of life. So anyways, I thought we would talk about my experience with all of this, and yeah, just help other people out with it, I guess. So as you probably can assume, I am diagnosed with depression and extreme anxiety. I also have really bad ADD as well, so that may play into part. So I thought I would just talk about my diagnosis and leading up to that. I don't exactly know where to start. I didn't have that, I grew up in two households, so that definitely I know put a strain on me mentally and emotionally, just dealing with that growing up and having two separate households, split parents. I always kind of struggled with that. But I think when I started to realize that something isn't necessarily right and I'm feeling down a lot and I have no motivation, I just want to lay in bed all day, I'm sad all the time. I kind of noticed that when I started high school, so my sophomore year, when I was around 15 years old, which I think is kind of normal for teenagers to have depression and anxiety, because it's just, being a teenager is so hard and draining, and just starting high school, not knowing what you want to do with your life and feeling like you have to have it all figured out right then and there at 15 years old is terrifying, and it can lead to some scary thoughts, and so I was really struggling in school pretty bad. I was never good at school necessarily. More I was good at English kind of, but that's really the only thing that I excelled in. Everything else kind of was downhill for me. And so I struggled really bad with having good grades, and that weighed down on me a lot. If I didn't have good grades, I had to get my phone taken away. There were punishments, I guess, in a certain way. Not that, like, that's not normal. Like, I know some people have certain things with grades and their parents and everything, but obviously my parents wanted what was best for me, so they wanted me to get good grades, and to motivate me was to take away my phone. And so that, I think, played a little bit of a role in that, but not like blaming my parents or anything. Just I think that played a tiny little role into it. But yeah, I was constantly failing my classes. Constantly like never having any motivation whatsoever to do any sort of schoolwork. I constantly procrastinated. I was constantly at home. I wasn't really hanging out with people as much. The first semester of high school, I was very lonely. I didn't have very many friends. And like going into high school was hard because, everybody kind of already has their clique and their little group, and I was a part of one kind of, but with high school you tend to drift away from certain people, and I guess I just kind of did. And so I felt very, very alone. Very, very alone. And I struggle to this day with being alone. I have a hard time sitting with my thoughts, which I know is something that I probably should work on, and I obviously am still dealing with it to this day, 5 years later. So, obviously it's still a work in progress, which I think is normal. I think everything is a work in progress, especially with dealing with depression and anxiety. As you get older, things change, your life changes, your medication changes. Just, yeah, everything's a work in progress. But anyways, I decided to reach out to my parents, and I was like, hey, I don't think I'm doing too well. I don't really know what's wrong with me. Something's going on that I can't pinpoint. I think I might be dealing with some depression. And my parents were like, okay, what does that mean? So I was like, I deal with not feeling enough in my schooling in that aspect. I try really hard and I still get really bad grades. Or, because I was going in every day before and after class trying to fix my grade. I will tell you one specific class that literally made my sophomore year absolute hell was my math class. I have always struggled with math, always, but I have never had a worse math class in my life. Not to dog on this teacher, but I'm definitely going to. He was the worst math teacher I've ever had in my life. I cannot express to you how bad that class was. And working with him was a pain in the ass. He did not care. He was a football coach. Y'all are probably gonna freaking find out who this is. I don't really care. I think he was an awful math teacher. He was a football coach. All he cared about was football. He wasn't there half the time. The substitutes never knew what to do. He would say, here's your math problem, figure it out. A plus B equals C. And it was like, oh my gosh, it gets me so angry talking about it, because that class literally made my life so miserable. I could not pass this class for the life of me. And yes, me saying I'm bad in school might be that might be pushing it a little bit, but I usually was an A, B, C kind of person. I had C's in probably all of my classes or below, majority of my sophomore year. I struggled with high school so much. The workload was 10 times more than I expected. And then you have the social aspect, like I talked about, friends, and there's football games that everybody's going to, and there's parties, and there's basketball games and dances, and oh my gosh, it was it was horrendous. Like, speaking of dances, my sophomore year, I wanted to go to homecoming so bad. As a 15-year-old, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go to homecoming so bad. I want to go to a dance. I want a boy to ask me on a date, you know. I ended up not getting asked. And that, like, oh my gosh, gut punch. I was so sad. And I live fairly close to my high school. And the dance was outside. And so I was sitting in the backyard listening to the dance happening. Watching the lights. Oh my gosh. Obviously, I kind of did that to myself. But, that definitely didn't help. But anyways, going back to my parents asking what the next step I wanted, I can't remember exactly. I kind of block all this out because it is a little bit dramatic for me, but I think I talked to my parents about it and I was like, maybe we should try medication, like antidepressants or something. I'm pretty sure I was on meds for my ADD all through elementary school, but I think I really struggled with that because it gave me extreme headaches and it just didn't leave me feeling good half the time, so I stopped doing those. But then, yeah, I was like, maybe could we try medication? I just don't know what's best for me. And they suggested therapy. Now, I'd been in therapy before. I had been in therapy as a kid just because my parents wanted me to have like a safe haven growing up, you know, with having divorced parents. And I remember very little about having different therapists growing up. And I hated every single one. I literally, every single time I'd go to therapy, I hated it. And so I was like, ooh, I don't know. But they were like, let's just try it out. Let's also talk to your doctor, see what he thinks is best. So I remember going into my primary, like, doctor and him being like, I think getting on medication is what's best. He was obviously like a, what's the word? Like a kid doctor? What is the word I'm thinking of? I know what it is and it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't think. I don't know. Anyways, but he was like, I deal with lots of teenagers, like, this is just, it's really common, unfortunately, nowadays, for teenagers to be depressed, which honestly is sad, but I don't know. Anyways, so I ended up getting on the lowest dose of antidepressants that I could at the time to just see how I felt, and then I know that, I forgot to preface, in ninth grade, so we're going back a whole year. In ninth grade, I had extremely painful periods, like so bad. The second my period hit, in bed, curled up in a ball, crying because I was cramping so absolutely horrifically bad. My periods were so heavy, and so I went to the OBGYN and they prescribed me birth control because that was the best solution for me at the time. And so I know that birth control, one of the side effects can be depression, I think. But I was like, I don't think this has to do with my birth control because I feel like I've kind of been depressed my whole life, you know? I laugh because this is just weird talking about out loud. Not laughing at the situation, just I'm feeling awkward. But we need to get over the stereotypical depression not talked about. We don't talk about it. You know? Anyways, started going to therapy, absolutely hated it. Hated it. I get there and I'm like, okay, I have all these things I want to talk about or that I need to talk about. I get there. Oh, I'm fine. I have nothing to talk about. I have an hour session and I'm done in 15 because I literally wouldn't talk because why would I want to talk to a stranger? Here I am recording a podcast to a bunch of strangers about my mental illness, but you're not here in front of me, so it doesn't matter. I just hated it. It felt so uncomfortable, and I always felt so anxious, so incredibly anxious going into it to the point where it stressed me out even more. I was stressed during it, and then afterwards, I would be leaving feeling worse, to be honest. Like, it didn't work for me. I don't know why, but it just didn't work. And so I stopped going to therapy my sophomore year. I have yet to go to therapy since then. And honestly, I don't know if I want to go back to therapy or if I need to necessarily. Like, yes, I think you don't have to have something wrong with you to go to therapy. It's just good for the soul. But I don't know if it's something that's meant for me. I would rather talk to somebody I trust and know, which I know that once you go to therapy forever, that person can become somebody you trust, but I don't know. But I will say my sophomore year was probably one of the hardest and darkest times of my life, to be honest. I had so much going on with school, and then I also was dealing with friends. And then I also was dealing with a boyfriend that struggled with his own mental illness, and I struggled with that on top of my own struggles. It was just not a good time. To be honest, I think this is normal a little bit, but I was like, oh, I don't really want to be here anymore. As depressing as that sounds, it's true. It's very true. I wouldn't say suicidal, but I was definitely like, oh, it'd be so much easier if this just wasn't going on, you know? And I think, I don't want to speak for other people, but I think I know a lot of teenagers that probably have thought the same. Being a teenager is so hard. It's so hard and it's difficult stuff to deal with. And so I ended up obviously getting on a higher dosage because of how much I was dealing with and how much it was weighing down on me. I don't know, depression is just something that I don't think enough people talk about, and I wish it was talked about more. And I think that people that do have a depression kind of keep it on the down low because it can be embarrassing for some people, which I hate because I'm just clinically and scientifically, it's literally a medical imbalance in the brain where you're not producing enough of the happy, I want to say oxytocin, but I don't know if that's right. I'm not a freaking scientist. Let me look it up. Okay, I looked it up, and I literally just asked ChatGPT what is depression because I wanted to get a right answer, I guess. So it says depression is more than feeling sad or having a bad day. It is a common mental health condition that affects how a person feels, thinks, and functions in daily life. It can influence emotion, energy, sleep, appetite, concentration, and enjoyment of activities. Common symptoms include feeling sad, losing interest in activities that you once found enjoyable, changes in sleep, either sleeping too much or sleeping too little, changes in appetite or weight, fatigue or low energy, difficulty concentrating. I will say that was a big one. I barely paid attention at all to anything. Depression can happen for many reasons, often involving a combination of factors such as genetics or family history, changes in brain chemistry, stressful or traumatic life events, chronic medical conditions, certain medication or substance use. I just asked Chat to explain it scientifically, and I'm going to be so honest. I'm not a doctor of any sorts, and this is really confusing. But let me read what this little part says. It says brain imaging studies show altered activity and connectivity in several regions involved in emotion and decision making. It says rather than those regions working together smoothly, communication between them can become dysregulated. Neurons communicate using chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. Depression has been associated with changes in serotonin. That was the one I was talking about, not oxytocin. Pretty sure that's I don't even want to guess. Anyways, serotonin involved in mood, sleeping, appetite, and emotional processing. Norepinephrine, I don't know, don't judge me on that, influences alertness, motivation, and stress responses. Dopamine plays a major role in motivation, reward, and pleasure. Reduced dopamine signaling is thought to contribute to anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. Current research suggests the issue is not simply too little serotonin. Instead, depression likely involves changes in how these neurotransmitter systems function and how brain circuits respond to them. So, if that didn't make sense at all, because I'm just so smart and amazing and a scientist, let me dumb it down for you. Like I said earlier, it's a chemical imbalance in the brain. That's literally what it means. Is that basically what I was saying is your neurotransmitters aren't connecting and aren't working properly. And so your brain is basically all jacked up. Your moods are swinging left and right. Your sleep habits are shit. And your eating disorder is at an all-time high. If that makes sense. But that talking about eating and your changes in appetite, I will say I definitely did struggle with that in high school in my sophomore year. Not to the point of it being a huge deal, but when I say I lost motivation, I'm saying I lost motivation to do anything at all. And I still struggle with that to this day. Motivation is a very hard thing for me. Most of the days I'd rather just lay in bed than do my laundry, brush my teeth, and go to bed. Sometimes if I'm laying in bed and I have to pee really bad, I don't want to get out of bed. And this is low-key embarrassing to admit, but I'm not like excusing it, but it's just a part of having depression, I guess. I don't know. And I know how stupid that sounds, but it's a work in progress. With the title of this episode, Happy Pills, I have been seeing this TikTok trend going around where it was like, I was born with this disease and I could die without my medication, but I'd rather live. I'm totally butchering that. Let me look it up. Okay, I can't find the specific TikTok that I was thinking of, but basically I was just scrolling on TikTok for a second looking at I literally looked up depression, and it goes, if you or somebody you know is dealing with depression, call this hotline. Now I'm scared my account's gonna get flagged, but anyways, basically it's saying that I just saw a lot that said if the medication is making you want to live your life instead of taking your life, then take the medication. I know that some people kind of struggle with taking medication and being like, oh, I can fix it myself. I don't need medication. Medication's bad for you. I kind of disagree a little bit, but that is my own personal hot take as somebody who's medicated. I will say, I have tried to get off my antidepressants. I have tried to lean off them. Don't go cold turkey on them because that's really bad for you. You want to try and take smaller doses. I'm also not a doctor, so please take everything I say with a grain of salt. Okay? I don't want to get in trouble. Anyways, I have tried to lean off my antidepressants just because I'm like, oh, I'm in a really good spot right now. I don't think I need to be taking as much. And I will say, I notice a difference. Sometimes I don't, and sometimes I do. And it's hard because it's like, oh, sometimes if I have a bad day, I'm having a bad day. Capital letters, like, bad day. Like, want to go home and cry and sob and, like, die. It's hard. And I think that if you have a medical chemical imbalance, it's okay to take your pills to balance your brain, to balance your emotions. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Me personally, as someone who's dealt with this, like, I will say that yes, I have a mental illness. They call depression a disease. I don't know if that's correct, but I am somebody that deals with it on a day-to-day basis. It's not something that just goes away. Yes, do I have days where I feel fine all day long? Yeah. Do I have days where I feel down and up and down and up? And yes, that's a part of life. You're not like one mood the entire rest of your life, obviously, but it depends on how you deal with it, how you get through it. And if medication, antidepressants, therapy, talking to somebody is what helps you, then I suggest 100% do it if it's what's best for you. And to be honest, you're the only one who knows your body through and through. If something's working for you, do it. Because your life will be, I don't want to get emotional, but like, I am a big advocate for suicide prevention. And someone that's dealt with not extreme suicidal thoughts, but they've been there. You are so wanted here. So extremely wanted. And I think you're here for a reason, obviously. Everything happens for a reason. Not to get religious on you, but God put you here for a reason. Like, you really think you're just here to struggle and die? No, you're here for a reason. There's this brand that I love. It's called Stay. It's a suicide prevention brand. They have clothing, stickers, mostly clothing. At least that's what I've seen. Usually I see them at farmers markets or like city days or something. Anyways, I have a hoodie from them. Doesn't fit me anymore, but my younger brother wears it now. They have bracelets, they have stickers. I have a sticker. And I just love everything that stands for. You're not alone. And I know when people say that, sometimes it's kind of like a slap in the face. It's like, you're not alone, why are you depressed? It's like, well, I'm alone in my brain. And my thoughts are constantly telling me I'm alone. When I know I'm not alone, but I feel alone. And sometimes it's comforting, sometimes it's not. And for me, personally, like I said earlier, I deal with having a hard time being alone. Like me personally, I don't like sitting here doing nothing by myself. I try and find hobbies, but I'd much rather be doing it with somebody because it just seems more enjoyable for me. You know, I will say the best thing that you can do if you're dealing with some obsessive thoughts, I guess, is talking to somebody, because that genuinely has saved me multiple times, is talking to somebody. That's all it takes. And I know how terrifying that can be, and I know, I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want them to think I'm weird, or they're going to think differently of me, because I've had those thoughts. I've thought the same thing, like, they're going to think of me differently. They're not going to want to talk to me anymore. I can guarantee you 99% of the people that you open up to about having these sad and crippling thoughts, I don't think will ever push somebody away from you, or you will only grow closer. Because you're letting them in, and you're letting them see a side that most people don't talk about. And talking to somebody takes that weight off your chest, and you can work through it together. Having somebody on your side is one of the best things that you can do to help with your anxiety, help with your depression, help with feeling needed, loved, wanted, feeling like you're enough, because somebody there understands you, somebody there cares for you. And having even just one person is really a game changer. And I will say, for me, it was my family. It was my family, and it was certain friends. And I know not everybody deals with depression, and it can sometimes be a hard thing for people that don't have depression to comprehend. Like, oh, why don't you just choose to be happy? It's like, well, I can, but my brain isn't letting me. I could be having the most wonderfulest time ever, and it's like a flip of a switch, and it's like, oh, this is awkward, you know? Like, just talking to somebody is such an outlet, at least for me. That's one way that I kind of handle it, I guess. Something that calms me down for sure is talking to somebody. I think that's a reason why I have a hard time being alone, is because I'm like, I need to be talking to somebody all the time or else I kind of go insane. I don't know if that's normal. But yeah, I think talking to somebody can help you kind of realize some things and help you even like comprehend what you're thinking. Like right now, talking to literally no one specifically into a microphone is kind of eye-opening for me a little bit. It's a little personal, you know? And that's why I have mentioned this is definitely more of a personal episode. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of scared to release this. I have been told, like, if I ever open up to somebody and I'm like, oh, yeah, like, I'm on antidepressants, they're like, oh my gosh, you are? I would have never noticed. That's the thing. Usually it's deep down, and most people you meet, you have no idea what they're going through. Like, you genuinely have no idea if somebody's struggling really bad with their mental health. If they have things that are really hard going on at home right now. If they lost their job. If somebody died that they know. Like, you don't know what's below the surface. And honestly, I feel like depression and anxiety and any sort of mental illness probably needs to be talked about more. It needs to be not normal, but like we just need to talk about it, you know? And like usually when people are like, "Oh, I didn't know that you were depressed." It's like, "Well, yeah. How would you? You don't see that side, you know? You don't see it when I'm sitting in bed at night, can't sleep because my anxiety is through the roof." For me personally, I kind of tie in my anxiety with my depression just a little bit. Obviously, they're a little different. But my anxiety also kind of takes over my life a little bit. I overthink and overanalyze a lot of things, and I concentrate on things that really shouldn't matter. Like, to be honest, for example, today, with my power being out, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to charge my phone before I go to bed, but I also sleep with the fan at night and I can't plug my fan in, and so then I have to listen to fan noises on my phone, but then my phone's gonna die and I have to get up for work, but the only alarm I have is on my phone, and if my phone dies, I'm gonna miss my doctor's appointment in the morning, I'm gonna be late for work, and then who knows when I'm gonna wake up, and so on and so forth. Those are real thoughts that I have. Like, that was genuinely happening to me 30 minutes ago. Like, it if somebody, like, for example, if I text somebody and I can see that they're active on Instagram, I go bonkers. My anxiety goes crazy. If I have sort of an inkling that something's wrong, I have extreme anxiety about that. Like, this past week, I was house sitting and for my parents. So my brothers were obviously there, so I was kind of just watching over them. And I have my sound machine or whatever going on my phone, but I have such extreme anxiety that my parents aren't home and somebody's going to notice, somebody's going to break into my house, but I'm not going to be able to hear because I have the fan noise on, but I can't sleep without the fan. But if I fall asleep, I'm not going to be able to know if the house is being robbed, if something's going on, if the boys scream for me, I'm not going to be able to hear. So basically, I'm just not going to sleep. Like, these are genuine things that I obsess over. I don't know if this is OCD either. Maybe. I don't know. It just seems like anxiety to me. Also, if we have a plan and the plans change, I freak out. This is something new for me. Usually it was definitely kind of go with the flow sort of vibe. A little bit, not like a lot, but I wasn't that crazy or obsessive over it. But as I've gotten older, if we have a plan and the plan changes in the tiniest increment, I kind of freak out. It stresses me out because I'm like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? And what if we have something at this time, but we have to do it at this time now, and then that puts the plan back in? I don't know if anybody else deals with this, and I feel crazy, but this is genuinely what's going through my head. And this is even being on medication, so who knows what it's like without being on medication. But yeah, something that really regulates these thoughts is talking to somebody. Like, for example, my boyfriend. If I explain these things to him and I'm like, if I kind of have a freak out, a panic attack, he's like, let's take this step by step. Let's take a second. Let's breathe, calm down. Let's take it one step at a time. Let's go through each thing and we can figure it out. And he's like, you're going to be okay. If we miss our dinner reservation, guess what? We're going to live. He kind of has to pull me out of that obsessive pattern. And the only way somebody's going to be able to help you is if you reach out, you know? Maybe if he notices, oh, Izzy's shaking her leg really bad, something's wrong. Because guess what? I can't hold still either. If I'm anxious or if I'm stressed, my leg is shaken. Or I'm playing with my fingernails, or I'm picking at something. Or I'm twiddling with my necklace, or my rings, or my earrings. My new fixation is my earrings when I'm anxious. I don't know. Something I deal with, and it really helps having somebody by your side, having somebody to talk to. So if you deal with these sort of things, I definitely recommend reaching out to possibly your parents if you have a close relationship with your parents, or a trusted adult, somebody you trust, somebody you love, reaching out is the first step. It's just a step into helping yourself, because with me, I'm struggling with this. I can't deal with this on my own. I need help, and I know how terrifying that can feel. I totally understand. It took me a while to reach out to my parents because I didn't want to feel stupid. I didn't want to be, oh, you're just a teenager, you're fine. Obviously, my parents didn't do that, but it was definitely a thought for sure. I was nervous. Reaching out was probably what really helped save me, I guess, in a way. And like I said earlier, if you find things that bring you joy, do them, regardless of what other people think. I have to bring my happy pills, and that's what works for me. I'm not saying that I'm 100% reliant on them, but just a tad bit, And I don't think that's necessarily bad. Obviously, if it becomes a problem, then that's a problem. I will say sometimes being on medication can definitely piss me off a little bit. I can't be as spontaneous as I want because, let's have a sleepover. It's like, well, let me go grab my pills first. You don't want to miss a day on those things, From the second I started taking those, I've always been scared on how it can really make your hormones and your emotions really irregular if you're not taking them responsibly. And so that's one thing that I am anxious about is I can't forget my pills. And sometimes it's like, I have to be reliant on my medication to feel normal. That's definitely a depressing thought that I have. But, it can be really annoying sometimes because if I want to go on a trip, or if somebody's just like, let's go do this tonight, and I'm like, I didn't bring my pills with me, but also I don't want to have to bring my pills with me everywhere I go, I don't know if that makes any sense, but to sum up everything that I've said, you never know what anybody's going through. Truly, you have no idea. even if you are the closest person to somebody ever, you still don't know what's going on in their brain. And so I suggest be kind to everybody. Know that we're all human beings and we all struggle. The struggle is real, my guy. We're all in this boat together. None of us know what we're doing. And I think that's the point of life. None of us are supposed to know what we're doing. We're just supposed to figure it out as we go. It's all a work in progress. I think if you're depressed, I don't think of you less. I don't think of myself less. It's just something that is a part of me. It doesn't define you. If you're classified as mentally ill, that does not classify you personally as a mentally ill person. Does that make sense? You are not defined by these quote-unquote flaws. Just because you're medicated doesn't make you less than anybody else. Doesn't make you less than a person that's unmedicated. It's okay. I promise. And just know that you are loved, you are wanted, and you are enough. Because I know that sometimes people don't say that enough. And I know that I need to say that more to the people I care about. And I need to say that more to myself. Affirmations, they work. I promise. I definitely need to do them more. But talk to somebody. Please, please, please reach out to somebody. Reach out to me. If you have no idea who I am, I don't give a flying frick. Reach out to me. Let me help you carry this burden, You are not a burden. You are enough. You are loved and you are wanted here on this earth. And just because you have a mental illness does not make you any more of a person. That doesn't make you less than anybody else. It makes you human. And guys, that's all I have for you today. And I hope that this wasn't too hot and heavy for you guys. And let me know if you like talking about this. DM me and we can talk about it. And I'm here. I'm always here. And I want this podcast, obviously, to be a safe space for everybody. So you are loved, you are wanted. And I appreciate every single one of you that has listened and has supported me along the way. Through everything, through my journey and through my podcast and everything. And just know that you have people on your side. You have people rooting for you. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys this week. Go follow me at Izzy Ross on TikTok, Instagram, everything, and follow the Pep Talk podcast on Instagram. Oh, and on YouTube. Subscribe. Okay, love you guys so much. Bye.